The morning started like any other on Research Station Alpha 7, orbiting the dead world of Kepler 438b. Dr. Sarah Chen was reviewing mineral extraction reports when the proximity alarms screamed through the station's corridors. Every screen in the facility flickered and displayed the same impossible image. A massive structure, easily 10 times the size of their station, had materialized from nowhere. Captain Marcus Rodriguez burst into the research lab, his face pale beneath his graying beard. "Sarah, we need you in the command center. Now." The command center buzzed with frantic activity. Lieutenant Kim was furiously typing at her console while Engineer Patel studied readouts that made no sense. Through the main viewport, Sarah could see the alien vessel, if it could even be called that. It looked more like a floating city made of crystalline materials that seemed to bend light around them. "Report," Rodriguez commanded, though his voice carried an edge Sarah had never heard before. "Sir, the object appeared without any energy signature we could detect. No warp trails, no quantum disturbances, nothing. It's like it just existed," Kim reported, her voice shaking slightly. Patel looked up from his console, sweat beading on his forehead. "Captain, the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever powers that thing, it's technology we can't even begin to understand. The energy output is equivalent to a small star." Sarah moved to the communications array. "Any attempts at contact?" "We've tried every frequency, every protocol in the book. Nothing," Rodriguez replied. "But 30 minutes ago, they sent us this." He activated the main screen, and a series of complex mathematical sequences appeared. Sarah's eyes widened as she recognized the patterns: prime numbers, then the Fibonacci sequence, followed by what looked like atomic structures. "They're showing us they understand our science," she whispered. "This is first contact." As if responding to her words, the alien vessel began to change. Sections of its crystalline hull rearranged themselves, forming what could only be described as a docking port that perfectly matched their station's design specifications. "How is that possible?" Patel gasped. "They'd need detailed scans of our technology to create that interface." Rodriguez made a decision that would change everything. "Prepare the shuttle bay. We're going over there." "Sir, with respect." "That's insane," Kim protested. "We don't know anything about them, their intentions, their capabilities." "Exactly why we need to go," Rodriguez replied firmly. "Humanity didn't get this far by playing it safe." 2 hours later, Sarah found herself in a shuttle with Rodriguez and Patel, approaching the alien vessel. The docking port had extended a tunnel-like structure that seemed to anticipate their arrival. As they made contact, Sarah felt a strange sensation, as if the ship itself was scanning them. The airlock cycled, and they stepped into a corridor that defied physics. The walls seemed to be made of living light, pulsing gently with colors that had no names. Gravity felt normal, and the air was surprisingly familiar. Nitrogen, oxygen, and trace gases in proportions that seemed deliberately calibrated for human comfort. "This way," a voice said in perfect English, though there was no visible source. They followed the voice through corridors that seemed to reshape themselves as they walked. Finally, they entered a vast chamber where a being waited for them. It stood roughly 8 feet tall with a form that seemed to shift between solid matter and pure energy. Its face, if it could be called that, held features that suggested both ancient wisdom and profound sadness. "I am Keeper Zethkalar of the Vorthak Remnant," the being said, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "We are the last of our kind, and we have been searching the galaxy for over 10 million years." Sarah stepped forward, fighting every instinct that told her to run. "Searching for what?" "For a species worthy of inheriting our legacy," Zethkalar replied. "We have tested thousands of civilizations across countless worlds. They have all failed." The chamber around them shifted, displaying holographic images of various alien species, some beautiful, some terrifying, all obviously advanced. Each image showed the same result: civilizations that had reached incredible heights of technology and culture only to destroy themselves or fade into stagnation. "What kind of test?" Rodriguez asked, his military training keeping his voice steady despite the circumstances. "The ultimate test," the keeper replied. "We push a civilization to its absolute limits, technologically, morally, spiritually. We present them with choices that reveal their true nature. Most seek to use our technology for conquest or personal gain. Others become paralyzed by the responsibility. Some simply break under the pressure." Patel's scientific curiosity overcame his fear. "And if we pass this test? Then you inherit everything we are: our knowledge, our technology, our purpose as guardians of life in this galaxy. You become what we once were, before our own civilization fell to hubris and complacency." The weight of what they were being told settled over the three humans like a heavy blanket. Sarah realized they weren't just representatives of humanity. They were potentially its judges. "How do we know you're telling the truth?" she asked. "How do we know this isn't some elaborate deception?" Zeth Kalar's form shifted, showing what might have been approval. "Skepticism. Good. Blind trust has been the downfall of many species we've encountered. Observe." The chamber transformed around them, becoming transparent. They could see space in all directions, but now it was filled with activity. Massive structures that had been invisible before revealed themselves: ancient space stations, dead worlds with the remnants of incredible cities, and in the distance, what looked like a partially constructed Dyson sphere around a red giant star. "This is what remains of our empire," the keeper explained. "Once, we numbered in the trillions. We could move stars, create life, bend the fundamental forces of the universe to our will. But power without wisdom leads only to destruction. We destroyed ourselves through civil war, hubris, and the belief that we were beyond consequence." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "And now you want to pass that power to us? Not want, need. The galaxy faces threats that require a guiding hand. Dark forces stir in the void between stars. Without protectors, all life will eventually fall to entropy or malevolence." Rodriguez stood straighter, his military bearing asserting itself. "What exactly does this test involve?" "You will be given access to a fraction of our technology, enough to revolutionize your civilization overnight. How you use it, how you handle the responsibility, how you face the challenges we present, this will determine whether humanity is ready for true power or if you will join the countless failed species in the graveyard of ambition." The three humans exchanged glances, understanding the magnitude of what was being offered. They weren't just making contact with aliens. They were potentially determining the future of their entire species. "The test begins now," Zeth Kalar announced. "You have 7 of your days to prove yourselves. Use them wisely." As the keeper spoke, Sarah felt something change in her mind. New knowledge flooded in, not complete understanding, but glimpses of technologies beyond human comprehension. She saw how to manipulate matter at the subatomic level, how to harness the energy of stars, how to communicate across vast distances instantaneously. Rodriguez and Patel were experiencing the same revelation, their eyes wide with wonder and terror. They now possessed knowledge that could either save humanity or damn it forever. "Remember," Zeth Kalar's voice echoed as the chamber began to fade around them. "We will be watching. Every decision, every choice, every action will be weighed. Show us that humanity deserves to inherit the stars." When they returned to their shuttle, all three sat in stunned silence for several minutes. Finally, Rodriguez activated the comm system. "Alpha 7, this is the captain. Prepare for emergency protocols. We have a situation that requires immediate attention from Earth Command. And Sarah," he turned to the scientist, "start working on that new technology. We have 6 days and 18 hours to prove that humanity deserves to survive what's coming." As their shuttle approached the station, Sarah looked back at the alien vessel, now partially transparent again. She could feel the weight of alien eyes upon them, judging, waiting, hoping. The test had begun, and failure meant not just their deaths, but potentially the end of human ambition among the stars. The greatest challenge in human history was about to unfold, and they were the only ones who could face it. Earth Command's response was swift and decisive. Within 18 hours of Rodriguez's emergency transmission, Admiral Helena Vasquez arrived aboard the dreadnought Indomitable, accompanied by a team of humanity's brightest minds. The command center of Research Station Alpha 7 had been transformed into a war room where the fate of humanity would be decided. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display, her hands dancing through complex equations that seemed to write themselves in the air. The alien knowledge burned in her mind like a fever dream. She understood concepts that no human should be able to comprehend, yet somehow it all made perfect sense. The energy conversion matrix alone could provide unlimited clean power for every human settlement, she explained to the assembled group. But that's just the beginning. The molecular fabrication technology could end scarcity forever. We could build anything we needed from base elements. Admiral Vasquez studied the data with the sharp eyes of someone who had seen too many wars. And the weapons applications? Sarah's expression darkened. Devastating. We could build planet killers with materials found in any asteroid field. The defensive applications are equally staggering. Energy shields that could protect entire worlds. Cloaking technology that would make our ships invisible to any detection method we know. Dr. James Nakamura, Earth's foremost xenopsychologist, leaned forward. The question isn't what we can do with this technology. It's what we should do. The alien, Zeth Kalar, was very clear about this being a test of character, not capability. Captain Rodriguez nodded grimly. The Keeper showed us the remains of their civilization. They had all this power and more, and they still destroyed themselves. How do we avoid the same fate? Admiral Vasquez activated a secure channel to Earth. This is Vasquez. I need to speak with President Chen immediately. While they waited for the connection, Engineer Patel had been quietly working at his console. Admiral, you need to see this, he said, his voice tight with concern. I've been monitoring deep space sensors across the system. We're not alone out here. The main display shifted to show long-range sensor readings. Dozens of energy signatures were approaching the system from different vectors. Ships unlike anything in human databases, but clearly artificial and clearly hostile in their formation patterns. How long until they reach us? Vasquez demanded. At current speeds, approximately 43 hours, Patel replied. But Admiral, these readings, they're showing power signatures that dwarf our most advanced warships. If they're hostile... They are, came Zeth Kalar's voice, echoing through the station's communication system. The alien Keeper materialized in the center of the command center, his energy form crackling with urgency. The Devourers have found you. They are drawn to the knowledge we have shared, like predators scenting blood in the water. Sarah stepped forward, the alien knowledge in her mind suddenly providing context. The Devourers. You mentioned threats in the void. They're one of them, aren't they? The greatest threat, Zeth Kalar confirmed. They consume civilizations, absorbing their knowledge and leaving nothing but empty worlds behind. They have been hunting us for millennia, following the traces of our technology. By testing your species, we have inadvertently marked you for destruction. Admiral Vasquez's military mind immediately shifted to tactical analysis. How do we fight them? With the knowledge we have given you, it is possible. But this is precisely the test we spoke of. How will humanity respond when faced with extinction? Will you use our gifts wisely, or will desperation drive you to repeat our mistakes? President Chen's voice crackled through the secure communication channel. Admiral Vasquez, I've been briefed on the situation. What are your recommendations? Vasquez looked around the room at the assembled team. Madam President, we have approximately 40 hours before hostile alien forces reach our position. We've been given access to technology that could defend us, but using it comes with significant risks. Explain. Dr. Chen stepped forward. The technology we've been given is incredibly powerful, but it comes with temptation built in. We could use it to build weapons that would make us the dominant force in the galaxy, but that's exactly what destroyed the civilization that came before us. Nakamura added, the psychological profile suggests this entire scenario is designed to test our restraint as much as our capability. Do we use minimum necessary force, or do we build an arsenal that guarantees our survival but potentially makes us a threat to everyone else? President Chen was silent for several moments. Admiral, I'm authorizing Operation Prometheus. You have full discretionary powers to use whatever means necessary to protect Earth and our colonies, but I want safeguards built into everything we create. If we survive this, we need to make sure we don't become the next threat to galactic peace. The next 36 hours became a frantic race against time. Sarah led teams of scientists and engineers in constructing defensive systems using the alien knowledge. They built energy shields powered by quantum field generators, created fighter craft that could move faster than anything humanity had ever conceived, and developed weapons that could channel stellar energy itself. But with every advancement, the team made deliberate choices to limit their own power. The weapons were designed with built-in restrictions that prevented them from being used against populated worlds. The defensive systems prioritized protection over projection of force. Most importantly, they built everything with automatic shutdown sequences that would prevent any single person or group from controlling the technology. Rodriguez had been assigned to tactical command of the defense fleet. As he stood on the bridge of the hastily retrofitted Indomitable, watching alien fighters practice maneuvers that defied physics, he felt the weight of command like never before. "Sir," came the voice of Lieutenant Kim, now serving as his tactical officer, "long-range sensors show the Devourer fleet has entered the outer system. Estimated time to engagement, 6 hours. "How many ships?" Rodriguez asked. 47 vessels, ranging from frigate-sized scouts to something that's registering as nearly the size of a small moon. "Sir, even with our new technology, we're badly outnumbered." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Signal all ships. Execute defensive formation Omega-7. And Lieutenant, send a message to all crews. Today we find out what humanity is really made of." As the human fleet moved to intercept the approaching threat, Zeth Kalar appeared on the bridge. "Captain Rodriguez, you have done something remarkable. In 36 hours, you have built a defense force that incorporates our technology while maintaining ethical constraints. Most species we have tested would have used this time to build weapons of conquest." "We're not most species," Rodriguez replied simply. "We've seen what unchecked power can do to a civilization. We'd rather die free than live as tyrants." The first Devourer ships appeared on sensors, sleek, predatory vessels that seemed to absorb light itself. Their formation was aggressive, designed to overwhelm and consume rather than merely defeat. "All ships, this is Admiral Vasquez," came the voice over fleet communications. "Today we fight not just for our survival, but for our right to exist as a free species. Remember your training, trust in your equipment, and show these aliens what human determination looks like." The battle began with a long-range exchange of energy weapons. The Devourer ships fired beams of pure destruction that could vaporize mountains, but the human fleet's new shields held. Sarah's quantum field generators created barriers that bent space itself, turning the alien weapons back on their users. But the Devourers adapted quickly. Their ships began changing formation, using tactics that suggested a hive-mind intelligence. Rodriguez watched as they tried to flank the human formation, using their superior numbers to create multiple attack vectors. "All fighters, execute harassment pattern Delta," he commanded. "Don't try to match their firepower. Use our maneuverability advantage." The human fighters, enhanced with alien technology but piloted by human courage, began a deadly dance around the larger Devourer ships. They struck at weak points with precise attacks, then vanished before the enemy could respond. It was a strategy that required perfect coordination and absolute trust between pilots. As the battle intensified, something unexpected happened. The alien ships began to withdraw, pulling back from their aggressive assault. Rodriguez watched in confusion as the Devourer fleet regrouped at the edge of the system. "Sir," Kim reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Devourer fleet. It's in English." "On screen," Rodriguez commanded. The image that appeared was disturbing, a creature that seemed to be part machine, part organic matter, with eyes that held intelligence but no mercy. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding metal. "Humans of Earth, we are the collective consciousness of the Devourer fleet. We have observed your response to the gift of advanced technology. You interest us." Rodriguez felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you want?" "Join us willingly, and we will spare your world. Resist, and we will take what we need from your corpses. You have technology we desire, but more importantly, you have shown restraint." "This is useful to us." Admiral Vasquez's voice cut through the communication. "You want us to surrender so you can study our ethics? We want you to serve. You will be our shepherds among the weaker species. Guide them to us when they are ready for consumption. In return, we will allow your species to continue existing." The bridge fell silent as the full horror of the offer became clear. They weren't being conquered. They were being recruited as collaborators in genocide. Rodriguez looked at his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. "Counteroffer," he said simply. "Go to hell." The Devourer's expression didn't change. "Then you will die. Resume attack formation." But as the alien fleet prepared for a final assault, something extraordinary happened. The space around them began to shimmer. And suddenly the Vorthak vessel appeared between the two fleets. Zeth Kalar's voice echoed across all communication channels. "The test is complete. Humanity has proven itself worthy." The Devourer ships suddenly found themselves unable to move, held in place by forces beyond their understanding. The creature on the screen showed its first emotion: fear. Impossible. The Vorthak died out millennia ago. We retreated, waiting for successors worthy of our legacy. Humanity has shown wisdom, courage, and most importantly, the moral strength to reject easy paths to power. Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Vasquez, Dr. Chen, approach our vessel. It is time for the final phase of your inheritance. As the human ships moved toward the Vorthak vessel, Rodriguez realized that the real test hadn't been whether they could use alien technology to defend themselves. It had been whether they would remain human while doing it. The hardest part was yet to come. The interior of the Vorthak vessel had transformed into something beyond human comprehension. Where before there had been corridors of living light, now vast chambers stretched in impossible geometries, filled with the accumulated knowledge of a civilization that had ruled the galaxy when Earth was still a molten ball of rock. Dr. Sarah Chen, Admiral Vasquez, Captain Rodriguez, and a select team of Earth's representatives stood in what Keeper Zeth Kalar called the Archive of Ascension. Around them, holographic displays showed the rise and fall of thousands of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos that defined the universe. "You have passed the first test," Zeth Kalar announced, his energy form more stable and radiant than ever before. "But understanding comes in stages. What you experienced with the Devourers was merely the beginning. True guardianship requires knowledge that can break minds unprepared to receive it." Sarah stepped forward. the alien knowledge still burning in her consciousness like a star. "What do you mean by guardianship? What exactly are you asking us to become?" The chamber around them shifted, showing images of the galaxy as it truly was, not the empty void humans perceived, but a complex ecosystem of energy and life that spanned dimensions. Ancient machines maintained cosmic balance, shepherding young species through their development while protecting them from threats they couldn't even perceive. When our civilization was young, we too were tested by our predecessors, the architects, beings who transcended physical existence eons ago. We failed that test, choosing power over wisdom, expansion over understanding. We became conquerors rather than guardians, and in doing so, we doomed ourselves to civil war and eventual extinction. Admiral Vasquez studied the displays with her strategic mind. "But you survived. How?" "Barely. A few of us realized our error and went into exile, spending millions of years in penance and preparation. We vowed that if we ever found a species worthy of inheriting our role, we would not repeat our mistakes. You are that species." Rodriguez frowned. "Why us?" "Humanity has its own dark history. Wars, genocide, environmental destruction. We're hardly perfect." Zeth Kalar's form seemed to smile, though the expression was alien and strange. "Perfection is not the goal, Captain. Wisdom is. You have shown the capacity to learn from mistakes, to grow beyond your limitations. More importantly, you have shown that you can hold power without being consumed by it." The chamber changed again, showing scenes from the recent battle. But now they could see details that had been invisible before. Energy patterns that showed the Devourers hadn't been attacking at full strength. Defensive systems on the human ships that had been more effective than should have been possible, and most tellingly, moments where human commanders had chosen mercy over maximum destruction. "The Devourers are real," Zeth Kalar explained. "They are perhaps the greatest threat the galaxy faces, but they are also necessary. They serve as a testing ground for species that seek to advance beyond their planetary boundaries. Those who fall to them were not ready for galactic citizenship. Those who survive and maintain their principles, like humanity, prove themselves worthy of greater responsibility." Dr. Chen felt a chill of understanding. "You've been manipulating the test, the Devourers, the timing of first contact, even the knowledge you gave us. It was all carefully orchestrated." "Yes, but manipulation implies deception for selfish gain. This was preparation for truth. The real threats to galactic stability are far worse than the Devourers. There are entities from the void between galaxies that feed on the collapse of civilizations. There are ancient weapons left behind by extinct species that could unravel the fabric of space-time itself. There are conflicts between dimensional beings that use entire star systems as battlegrounds. The holographic displays showed glimpses of these horrors, writhing tentacles of dark energy consuming entire nebulae, mechanical constructs the size of solar systems converting matter to unknown purposes, and rifts in space that leaked chaos into ordered reality. Your role, should you accept it, is to stand against these forces, to guide younger species safely through their development, to maintain the barriers that keep the worst threats contained. To be what we failed to be, wise guardians rather than ambitious conquerors. Admiral Vasquez absorbed the magnitude of what was being offered. "And if we refuse? Then we continue our vigil alone until we finally fade away, and the galaxy will be left unprotected. Eventually, chaos will win, and all life will end in darkness. But the choice must be freely made. We will not force this burden upon you." Rodriguez looked at his companions. They had come out here as explorers and researchers, and now they were being asked to become the secret guardians of galactic civilization. The weight of responsibility was staggering. "What would this mean for humanity?" he asked. "For our development as a species?" You would advance beyond your current limitations. Your lifespan would be measured in millennia rather than decades. Your understanding of the universe would expand to encompass dimensions of existence you cannot currently perceive. But you would also bear the loneliness of guardianship, watching over species that can never know of your protection, making decisions that affect trillions of lives, sacrificing personal desires for the greater good. Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes as she grasped the full implications. You're asking us to give up our humanity to save humanity. Not give up, Zethkalar corrected gently. Transcend. Become more than you are while remembering what you were. The best guardians are those who never forget the perspective of the protected. The chamber fell silent as the humans contemplated the choice before them. Finally, Admiral Vasquez spoke. We need time to discuss this among ourselves. And we need to consult with Earth's leadership. This isn't a decision that can be made by a few individuals. Of course, take the time you need, but know that time itself is limited. The void entities are stirring, drawn by the technological advancement of younger species. Within your century, the barriers will weaken enough for them to begin their assault. If there are no guardians in place by then, the implications hung in the air like a death sentence. 3 days later, an emergency session of the United Earth Council convened via quantum communication link. Representatives from every nation, colony, and space station participated as Admiral Vasquez presented the Vorthak offer. The debate that followed was unlike anything in human history. Some argued that humanity wasn't ready for such responsibility, that they should focus on their own development first. Others worried about the corruption that such power might bring. A few suggested that the entire situation was an elaborate deception, but President Chen, speaking from the flagship of Earth's defense fleet, made the argument that swayed the final vote. Members of the Council, we stand at a crossroads that no species in human history has faced. We can remain as we are, limited to our solar system, vulnerable to threats we cannot imagine, living in ignorance of our place in the larger universe, or we can accept responsibility for something greater than ourselves. She paused, looking directly into the camera that broadcast her words across human space. Our ancestors left the safety of caves to explore continents. They crossed oceans to discover new worlds. They launched themselves into space to reach for the stars. Each time, they faced the unknown with courage, born of necessity and hope. This is our moment to take the next step, not just for ourselves, but for every species that will follow in our footsteps. The vote was close, 52% in favor of accepting the Vorthak inheritance, 48% opposed. It was barely a mandate, but it was enough. When Admiral Vasquez returned to the Vorthak vessel with their answer, she found Zethkalar waiting in the archive of Ascension. His energy form seemed brighter, more hopeful than before. We accept, she said simply, but with conditions. We want safeguards built into whatever power you're giving us. We want checks and balances to prevent us from becoming what you once were. And we want the right to return to our original state if we ever decide this path is wrong for us. Zethkalar's approval was evident in the way his form pulsed with warm light. Wisdom already. Yes, we will build in all the safeguards you require. The transformation will not be instant. It will take generations for humanity to fully assume the role of galactic guardians. You will have time to learn, to grow, to find your own way of fulfilling this responsibility. The ceremony that followed was both beautiful and terrifying. Advanced Vorthak technology merged with human consciousness, creating a hybrid existence that retained humanity's essential nature while providing the tools needed for guardianship. Sarah found herself able to perceive dimensions of space and time that had previously been invisible. Rodriguez discovered he could communicate directly with the quantum fields that held reality together. Admiral Vasquez gained an intuitive understanding of galactic politics that spanned millions of years. But perhaps most importantly, they retained their humanity, their capacity for emotion, their appreciation for simple pleasures, their ability to relate to beings far less advanced than themselves. As the transformation completed, Zethkalar began to fade, his energy form becoming translucent. "Where are you going?" Sarah asked, alarmed. "Our purpose is complete. We can finally rest, knowing the galaxy will be protected. You are the guardians now. Trust in yourselves, remember what you were, and never forget that the greatest power is the wisdom to use power sparingly." With those words, Keeper Zethkalar and the last of the Vorthak civilization faded into the cosmic background. Their million-year vigil finally ended. Admiral Vasquez stood on the bridge of the transformed Vorthak vessel, now humanity's mobile command center for their new role as Galactic Guardians. Through the viewports, she could see the Devourer fleet departing, their purpose as unwitting test administrators complete. In the distance, Earth's sun shone with the same warm light it always had, but now she could perceive the quantum fluctuations that regulated its fusion, the gravitational harmonics that kept its planets in stable orbits, and the delicate balance that allowed life to flourish in this small corner of the universe. Captain Rodriguez joined her at the viewport. "Any regrets?" he asked. Vasquez thought about the question carefully. "Ask me in 1,000 years," she said finally. "Right now, I'm just honored that we were trusted with this responsibility." Sarah appeared beside them, her enhanced consciousness already detecting the first signs of a young civilization taking its first steps toward space travel in a nearby star system. "First assignment," she announced. "There's a species about to develop faster than light travel. They're going to need guidance." As the vessel began its journey to the next system that required protection, the three humans, now something more than human but still fundamentally themselves, prepared for a future none of them could have imagined. They were no longer just explorers or soldiers or scientists. They were guardians of the galaxy, protectors of the unknown, and inheritors of a responsibility that would define not just their own fate, but the fate of countless civilizations yet to be born. Behind them, Earth continued its orbit around the sun, its inhabitants never knowing how close they had come to extinction or how far they had traveled beyond the limits of their own understanding. Humanity had been tested at its absolute limits and had emerged not just victorious, but transformed into something worthy of the stars themselves. The greatest adventure in human history was just beginning.